What if I told you that stupidity isn't about lacking intelligence, but about being too certain? The greatest danger to humanity has never been ignorance. It's the illusion of knowing. In this video, you'll discover why absolute certainty blinds even the smartest minds, why history's greatest downfalls were born not from evil, but from overconfidence, and how mastering intellectual humility can turn confusion into creative power. Stay till the very end, because once you understand the hidden psychology of human stupidity, you'll never see certainty the same way again. Before we dive in, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss new psychology insights. People often imagine stupidity as the absence of intelligence. But that's the biggest misconception of all. True stupidity rarely looks foolish. It looks confident, decisive, and absolutely certain. History shows us that some of the most catastrophic decisions ever made were not born from ignorance, but from an excess of certainty. When the human mind becomes too sure of its own conclusions, it stops questioning, stops observing, and begins to defend illusions as if they were truths. And that is where all forms of collapse begin. The ancient Greeks understood this long before psychology gave it a name. They called it the tragedy of hubris, the blindness that comes when confidence turns to arrogance. They saw that more harm is done by foolish certainty than by evil itself. Evil knows it's destructive. Stupidity believes it's right. That's why it's unstoppable. You can't reason with someone who believes their perception is reality itself. And that includes us, because every one of us carries a small tyrant inside the mind, the need to be right. Modern psychology later discovered what the Greeks intuited. Cognitive science calls it the illusion of explanatory depth, the tendency to believe we understand complex systems far more than we actually do. We think we know politics, human nature, happiness, love, or morality until we're asked to explain them. Then, our knowledge dissolves into fragments, feelings, and borrowed ideas. Yet instead of questioning that emptiness, we cover it with more certainty, louder opinions, and stronger emotions. Certainty becomes armor against the discomfort of doubt. But here lies the paradox. The smarter the brain, the more creative the justifications. Intelligence, when ruled by ego, doesn't cure stupidity. It perfects it. It builds beautiful theories to protect fragile beliefs. That's why some of the most intelligent people in history led entire nations into disaster. Their intelligence was a sword in service of delusion. The real antidote to stupidity, then, is not knowledge. It's humility. 200 years ago, the poet John Keats called this state of mind negative capability, the ability to remain in uncertainty and doubt without rushing toward premature answers. Shakespeare had it. His characters weren't black or white. They were complex, contradictory, human. That's what real intelligence looks like. The capacity to hold two opposing truths without collapsing into one. Modern physics calls it a superposition. The particle is both wave and matter until observation forces it to choose. Our thoughts work the same way. The moment we decide I'm right, we collapse our mental superposition into a single, rigid reality. To think clearly is to resist that collapse, to keep multiple possibilities alive long enough to see the truth emerge from their tension. The most creative minds, from Einstein to Da Vinci, lived in this psychological twilight, a space where certainty dies and imagination begins. It's not comfortable, but it's the birthplace of wisdom. Because wisdom is not knowing everything. It's knowing what you don't know. Look around today. Social media rewards outrage, not reflection. Everyone speaks with absolute conviction about everything: politics, religion, health, identity, as if complexity has gone extinct. But complexity hasn't vanished. It's been buried under noise. The more we simplify reality to fit our beliefs, the dumber we become. Not because we lack intellect, but because we've stopped using it. The greatest form of intelligence is curiosity, the courage to remain uncertain, to listen longer, to ask, what if I'm wrong? So, what's the cure for human stupidity? It isn't IQ tests, data, or degrees. It's the quiet discipline of doubt, the gentle art of staying open when your ego screams for closure. To question yourself is not weakness, it's strength in its purest form. Because only the mind that admits it might be mistaken ever discovers something true. Maybe the real battle of intelligence isn't between the smart and the foolish, but between those who need to be right and those who dare to keep learning. The mind that clings to certainty builds a prison made of its own conclusions, safe, familiar, and completely blind. But the mind that accepts uncertainty walks freely through the unknown, and that's where all discovery begins. So the next time you feel absolutely sure of something, pause, breathe, and remember, the strongest minds are not the ones that always know, but the ones that are brave enough to doubt. Because wisdom doesn't shout, it listens. And in a world full of noise and false confidence, the quiet thinker becomes the last true genius. The truth is, stupidity is not the absence of intelligence. It's the misuse of it. The brain evolved not to seek truth, but to protect identity. Every belief you hold is guarded by a small army of emotions. Fear, pride, ego, all working to keep you safe from the discomfort of being wrong. That's why awareness is so rare and so powerful. Real intelligence begins the moment curiosity becomes stronger than certainty. When you start questioning even your own logic, you stop being a prisoner of your mind and become its master. Because the ultimate form of wisdom isn't to know more, it's to see clearer. And clarity is the light that burns through the fog of human stupidity. And maybe that's the quiet revolution the world needs. Not louder opinions, but sharper awareness. Because the future won't belong to those who know the most, but to those who are humble enough to keep learning. Have you ever seen what happens when a narcissist realizes you've uncovered their truth? That moment changes everything. The mask slips and the game ends. The full video is appearing right now on your screen. Tap it and don't forget to subscribe.